Welcome to Old Spa Race 2 of Old Folks Racing PS4. We already had Race 1 and Andy Booth was your winner, followed by Diogo Silva and Kev Allen. We are now going for Race 2, that's round 24 of the championship, and Andy Booth is on pole position again, followed by Diogo Silva, Andy Bramall and Kev Allen. These four are likely to be in contention for the win. We await the green light. We've got 8 cars again and we are off. Often great start by Andy Booth. Not such a great start by Diogo Silva. He's lost second place. He's lost second place to Andy Bramall into Eau Rouge for the first time. And Diogo is really struggling there to keep his third place. Into Camel for the first time. And Andy Booth is again your leader. Is already disappearing into the distance. I wonder if he's on course for his second victory. Let's see how this is going to develop as Diogo Silva is now attacking Andy Bramall for second. We are still in the first stages of this race. A lot of racing to go. And Andy Booth is off. Andy Booth is off in Lecombe. Is into the barrier. Is losing time. Andy Bramall is going into the lead. Let's see if Diogo Silva can go into second place. He can. Second place for Diogo Silva is now in pursuit of Andy Bramall. Now for the lead and not for second place. Andy Booth is in third. Kev Allen is in fourth. And the top four are trying to get away from the rest of the field into Pogdenville for the first time. Andy Bramall, Diogo Silva, who's lost a bit of time there. Andy Booth is right on his gearbox. Let's see if Andy is trying to make a move here into the next straight. For the time being, Andy Bramall is your leader. Into Malmedy for the first time, and Andy Bramall is convincingly up front. This Old Folks Racing round 24 here at Old Spa. And what a more suitable location could we have for old folks to be racing than in this very old circuit, remembering golden times of motorsport with the Lotus 49. Into the Master Straight for the first time, and Andy Bramall continues to lead, but now the top four are close to each other. We are going to see how this is going to develop. Remember, we still have a lot of the race to go. It's 7 laps and we are not even at the end of the first one. We are already at the back of the circuit into another straight that leads, I believe, into Stavlo. Let's see if Andy Bramall continues or not to hold this lead. We are now following Scott Davely. Scott is in 7th place. Which was a good start. Stuart Brand has dropped to 8 and Scott is off. Scott is off at Stavlo, but he recovers well. He's in 7th place. Stuart Brand is going to be wanting that place quite soon. Let's see how that battle develops. Meanwhile, we continue to follow the top 4 into the last third of the first lap. And now Kev Allen is really putting pressure on Diogo Silva for third. Diogo already trying to defend. Some drivers are already weaving around a little bit, trying to break the draft. These cars don't draft very well. The effect is not very large. Nevertheless, it is logical for drivers to avoid other drivers who are following them directly. And in the meantime, Andy Booth has gone to the lead. Andy Booth has recovered quite well from third place. After he's off in Lecombe, he has recovered to take the lead again, and now Diogo Silva is going for second. This is just before La Source. Is he going to make the move? Yes, he can. He can make the move. Diogo Silva is in second place now into La Source for the first time. This is the end of the first lap. Andy is trying to go back at him, but no. Diogo shuts the door, and the end of the first lap. We have the top 4 together, and we will continue to follow this group with Andy Booth in the lead, Diogo Silva second, Andy Bramall third, and Kev Allen fourth. Now following Stuart Brand. Stuart has gone past Scott Davis, so that was a good move. Stuart is now in 7th in that distinctive yellow Lotus, and now going after Todd D'Antonio. Todd is in an excellent 6th place in this first lap. Let's see if he can hold to this position and defend from Stuart. And now it's move. What was this? Oh, it was Kev Allen. Kev Allen was in the inside of Andy Bramall and span at Lecombe. Where is he? Did he manage to recover? We don't have the TV cameras with Kev at the moment. We can see he is still in 4th place, but he has now lost a lot of time Andy Bramall was on the outside but was entitled to the position. He promptly shut the door in Lecombe and maintained that third position, and now it was Kev Allen who got the worst out of it. He's now got a lot of time to recover. I'm not sure that at the current pace he's got something like 8 seconds to recover, and it's going to be quite tricky for Kev to come back at this top 3. Now Stuart Brand is running wide there, continues to be in, well, in fact he's got past Todd Antonio. That was at Bournonville, and now at Malmedy is already into 6th place. Meanwhile, Andy Bramall is really pressurizing Diogo Silva now into the Master Kink, and they are close to one another. I wonder if this is going to allow Andy Booth to really have the breathing space to move away from these two. As they battle, they will tend to lose time. They probably at this stage on lap 2 should just work together, taking the draft off one another in a straight, making clean passes so that they don't waste time and they can recover the time to Andy Booth. At the moment it doesn't seem they're doing that, and they are just going offline into different corners, and that Andy Booth is just saying thank you very much guys, I am off into the distance, looking for his second win in this round. But now look at this, Diogo Silva really closing on Andy, and Andy Bramall just behind. This is a titanic battle for the lead here. Diogo now losing a bit of time in that corner there, and now a little bit further away from Andy Booth than he was a couple of corners ago. These three will try to manage their tires, they will try to manage their cars, and try to battle it out in the last few laps, I would imagine. Andy Booth continues to lead here in Old Spa. Great venue, great beer as well in this region, and therefore all the old folks have been extremely happy in these last few days. They love coming to Spa, to this old circuit, which is now of course possible with modern simulation, to go back to the Lotus 49s of 1967, 1967, 1968, great golden times of motorsport. Second lap, Andy Booth is still in the lead. Diogo Silva second, Andy Bramall third. Let's see if Kev Allen made any progress catching up to this trio. Not really, he's still 8 seconds behind. Behind Kev Allen, we've got Jambo in 5th place, and he seems to be relatively stable. And now Diogo Silva is going for the lead. Yes, he is. He's going for the lead. He's made a move into Camel. He's made it stick, and he's the new leader. Into Lecombe, he just tries to defend his position. He's now the leader of this race. Andy Booth is in second, and Andy Bramall is now wanting that second place, really, because Andy Booth must have made some sort of mistake, or at least have gone offline when Diogo was going through him, and he's lost just a few tenths of a second, but that's enough to have Andy Bramall now all over his gearbox. Into Bournonville again, and these three are battling it out for the win here in Old Spa. Into Malmedy, tries to make a move there. Andy Bramall is not really an overtaking spot. He better wait for the next straight, or at least the next obvious overtaking spot. Into the Master Straight now, with Diogo Silva, Andy Booth and Andy Bramall. You couldn't put a blanket between these three, and again you see drivers, Diogo there trying to avoid the draft. These cars tend to reach their top speed and really hitting the rev maximum as well on this straight, so no car really has a top speed advantage unless you get a little bit of a draft from the car in front. The draft effect is not massive, but it is good enough to make an overtaking move if you are in the right place at the right time. Into the Hollowell straight, just before Stavlo, we are on lap 3 out of 7. Andy Booth is really coming back at Diogo Silva. It seems to me that he's got the fastest pace here again in the second race. Into Stavlo, and Andy Bramall really on an opposite lock there. Beautiful car control from Andy, and he's made a little bit of time now. Now Andy Booth is going for the lead. He's going for the lead. He's going on the inside, and Diogo Silva is going to have to let him through again. Andy Bramall is now also on the attack, but Diogo is trying to resist. Let's see how much time Diogo can keep into that Andy sandwich. It's not a great place to be because they are very, very talented and also very aggressive drivers at time. I wonder what Diogo must be thinking right now, whether he can back off to the back of this pack and battle it out in the last few laps. Into the last part of the third lap, into Blanchimont right now. Let's see if anyone tries to make a move. Diogo Silva is well placed to try to make a move on any boot. Will be able to? No, he won't. Into Blanchimont. Let's see if anyone tries to make a move there. Andy Bramall has hit him. Andy Bramall has hit him, and that was probably a little bit too ambitious from Andy. He didn't really line up to the overtaking properly, and now he has... What happened? Cavalli is still in fourth. Diogo Silva has maintained second. Andy Bramall has recovered to third, but they're still close to one another, it seems. Indeed, Andy Bramall has gone into second, and they touch again. They touch again into La Source, and now Cavalli has really said, "Thank you very much, guys. I am going for second myself. See you later, alligator." No, he hasn't, because Andy Bramall has closed the door into Eau Rouge. Fourth lap, and now this trio are battling for second, and here comes Cavalli. Cavalli has gone into second place with a move there into Camel, and now comes Diogo Silva as well. Oh, well, that could have been the third contact in less than half a lap between Diogo Silva and Andy Bramall. Diogo has backed off. He is wishing to fight later in the race. Now Cavalli is in second place now. Andy Bramall is in third. Diogo Silva is in fourth, and Diogo is now in third because Andy has made a small mistake there in Lecombe, and Diogo has taken the opportunity to go back to third place. So now we have Cavalli in second, Diogo Silva third, and Andy Bramall is in fourth place. Terrific battle. But in the meantime, who has said thank you very much and see you later? That is Andy Booth. Remember, it all started with Andy Bramall and Diogo Silva getting together at Blanchimont, and then at La Source, Cavalli took the opportunity to battle these two into Camel and Lecombe, where Diogo has again passed Andy, but all of this has allowed Andy Booth to have a 12-second lead. That's a massive lead that now Andy has, and with his pace I wouldn't be surprised if he's now on course for yet another win. We're following Scott Davely. We haven't seen too much of him. He is in 8th place, which is in this race last, but will still score 4 points if he can keep it together until the end of the race. He's fighting out for 7th with Todd Antonio, who has lost to Stuart Brand a couple of laps ago, but he's holding up very well there, and Scott really doesn't really have the right line there through the Malmedy chicane, because he has gone into a bit of a rallycross line in there. Look at this battle. Yeah, that's Andy Bramall. Andy Bramall really completely sideways there at Stavlo. It looked great, but probably not the fastest way to go around that particular corner, and he's now lost a bit of time. And if you lose touch with these two cars, as long as these two cars remain together, it probably is to their advantage, because they will draft from one another even slightly, and that will ensure they carry a little bit more speed, and therefore Andy will have some difficulties now, I would imagine, to go back to the pack that is battling for second. He's not far behind, he's just a couple of seconds, but really he's now a little bit out of touch of these two drivers. Let's see whether we can have yet another battle towards the end of this race. It could be Cavalli against Diogo Silva, with Andy Bramall right now looking as if he is a bit of a wild card, and of course this will have some championship implications, as Andy Booth is on course for another victory there. Cavalli running a bit wide just before La Source. Diogo really didn't. Oh, and here at Lotus, it looked as if Diogo was going through the inside, but not really. Kev just having a little bit of a drift line through there, but that's probably the fastest line actually, because he's now a little bit further ahead into Eau Rouge. In the meantime, Scott Davely, he is now 5 seconds behind Todd Antonio. Todd doing a great job there with the number 5 classic livery Lotus 49, and he could be on course for quite a good result. Stuart Brand is running on his own. He's 10 seconds ahead of Todd Antonio and 10 seconds behind Jambo. Jambo is also relatively isolated now in 5th place. And in the meantime, here's the battle for second with Andy Bramall trying to keep in touch with Kev Allen and Diogo Silva. Kev has now opened up a slight gap. It's less than a second, but it's enough to breathe through these corners and not be so threatened by Diogo every single corner. In the meantime, Andy Booth is in the lead, continues to be in the lead. He could be on course for a perfect weekend with 2 wins. He's now on lap 5. There'll be 2 to go at the end of this lap. Diogo Silva on the number 22, White Lotus, going through the Malmedy chicane into the Master Straight. They are now just 7.5 seconds behind Andy Booth. Andy has lost a little bit of time there. I don't know whether this was just a mistake or if these two are able to just run faster because they are running together with no obstacles and no battles, and that could be slightly, marginally faster than running in clear air. Into the Master Straight now, or no, this is Hollowell Straight, I apologize. Just before Stavolo, and still second and third. Let's see, Diogo Silva would like to repeat ideally the result that he has had in the first race, an excellent second place, but he will have to pass Kev Allen to get there. Kev Allen is in second place, not a very usual position for him. He's running alone really for the championship in this race, because Simon Allen was unavailable to race this Friday. So any points that Kev picks up are going to be useful, because Simon Allen basically is going to score 0 points over this round, and Kev has already a 4th place from the first race. That's 12 useful points, and now he's even in a better place to extend his championship lead. I wonder if Kev is becoming safer and safer in his championship lead. It's going to be quite difficult for Simon or indeed anyone to challenge the points lead that Kev is building right now. We are still on lap 5, towards the end of the lap into the Blanchimont area. Diogo is becoming ever closer through. He seems to be slightly faster than Kev over the last part of the circuit, but then in the middle part of the circuit, really Kev opens up a gap of a few tenths of a second that is enough to keep his position. For now, I'm sure that in the last lap there you see Trulasaurus Diogo making a good line there, but he's still a few tenths behind. Andy Booth, your race leader, is already in lap 6, which is the penultimate lap in this race. Of course, Old Fox Racing PS4 races normally have 12 laps in a normal circuit, I would say, but here in Old Spa, the length of the circuit is such that the number of laps had to be reduced to keep the race time into something that these old beer drinking guys could actually afford and not be completely exhausted by the end of it, especially given the fact that we have to run 2 races every round and one right after the other. So really, from a certain age, with certain drinking habits, I'm imagining that these guys are not really fit for endurance racing as we used to have in the good old times here at Spa, with the famous 24 hours of Spa, of course, taking place in this amazing but also very, very dangerous circuit over the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s. Again, a golden era of motorsport with GT cars and touring cars really going around these amazing circuits almost flat out. And in fact, most of this circuit is flat out or almost flat out. Many of the corners that you see here, drivers do not use the brake. At most, they might just lift the accelerator a little bit. So also quite demanding for the cars, and thankfully the rules of this championship for all folks racing, mechanical problems are disabled, so reliability isn't sure to be 100% unless of course someone's connection just goes, and in that case it's really the only possible reason for a DNF, and we had a few of those earlier in the season. And now in Stavlo, Kev Allen has lost a little bit of time. He was trying to make the ideal line and he almost managed to do that, but he let his rear end slip and had slight contact with the barriers. Fortunately didn't lose a lot of time, but now Diogo Silva, as I mentioned before, he's slightly faster over these last few corners and he's really trying to make a move now and get that second place. Let's see if he manages to do that, also because he's running a little bit out of time. I mean, the last lap is about to start, and frankly, Diogo must make up his mind and really try to find a way through Kev, or otherwise he's just going to run out of time and we'll have to settle for third place. Towards the end of the lap, we have Kev Allen in second, Diogo Silva in third. We are in Blanchimont again. This is where the old circuit rejoins what is now the new circuit, with this area that goes to La Source now having the famous bus stop chicane. And now Diogo Silva has made a move into Kev Allen and he's made the move stick. Well done, Diogo. No, Kev is going back at him. He used the barrier there clearly to his advantage into La Source. Side-by-side racing, Diogo keeps his line, holds it together, and into the beginning of the last lap, Diogo Silva has got second place from Kev Allen. Let's see if he can keep it by the end of this lap. Still 3.5 minutes to go, and lots of chances for Kev to recover his second place, particularly in the first part of the circuit where he tends to be faster than Diogo. We are into Camel. It used to be like this, corner after corner. Nowadays, of course, it is a straight into Le Combe, which is now a chicane, but now, of course, he's a left-hander. And oh dear me, and Kev Allen has hit the back of Diogo Silva. I'm sure he didn't mean to do it, and he basically has cocked it up a little bit there, or I wonder if Diogo was also braking earlier than usual. In any case, what has happened there, Diogo has maintained second place as well. Quite a good move there by Kev, probably letting Diogo through after that move, keeping his second place. So very nice of Kev to admit he's made a mistake there and letting Diogo through. I think that's what happened, because Kev clearly was almost stopped on the circuit and waiting for Diogo to get through. At least it looked like that. Let's see if Kev makes a move on. Oh no! Wait a second. It's Andy Bramall that's in there now in third place. Where has Kev Allen got to? We didn't really see that on the cameras. We saw that Kev has definitely hit Diogo in Le Combe and let him through, but I thought he was just behind him. But now it's actually Andy Bramall who has recovered quite nicely, having been for most of the race in fourth place. He now could potentially look at finishing second, because Diogo probably has some damage from that contact. He's trying to hold his second place. Andy is definitely interested in going back to second, because again there are some championship implications between these two. They are both losing time to Andy Boots, who is we haven't seen too much of him because he's really just in first, in the lead almost since the end of the first lap. Andy Booth is going to win again, and who's going to finish second? I guess one of these two is going to finish second into La Carrière for the last time, and then into Blanchimont. There will be time for one or two moves by Andy Bramall. We really would like to follow that battle in the last lap, TV cameras, please. But yet, instead, I'm sorry, we are following Andy Booth in his last few corners. Andy is going to score a perfect weekend, really, and he's going to be right back into the battle for third place in the championship. So well done, Andy. He was really the man of the race in both races, and I don't think there is any question that he is a very deserving winner over the course of these two races. He has not had an easy life. He has had drivers challenging him. He made a couple of mistakes, dropping back a few places, but he managed to get back into the place where he deserves to be for this weekend, which is the lead. And here is Andy Booth winning the Old Spa Race 2 round 24 of the championship in the Lotus 49. But we will wait to see who's going to finish second. It is Diogo Silva. Diogo Silva, well done as well, repeating the second place from the first race, followed by Andy Bramall. I really wonder what happened to Kev Allen after that incident, and he's not very happy to finish fourth. You can see him hitting a nose cone there just after the finish line. In any case, Kev must be happy to extend his championship lead today. Jambo, he had a quiet race. He's going to finish fifth, which is at least a return to a top 5 finish for him after a couple of rough races lately. It's good to see him score a top 5 result. Sixth place, it is the yellow Lotus 49 of Stuart Brand. Stuart has had some problems in the beginning of the race, but he has recovered nicely to score yet another solid 8 points of 6th place. And thumbs up, 2 thumbs up for Todd Antonio. He has managed to finish 7th. It's not his best result of the year because he's finished 6th in a few rounds, in a few of the early rounds of the season, but it is his best result in a few races, and he has driven very well to take on his 7th place in the number 5 Lotus 49. Scott Davely will have to settle for 8th today. It's still not a bad race in terms of point scoring for him. 4 points, always useful to add to your tally here, and Scott has done a good job there. In any case, after the weekend, it's Andy Booth winning both races. Diogo Silva finished in 2nd in both races. I don't know if you are going to see the points table here or not, but I'm sure it's very hot. Yes, indeed, here we go. Kev Allen has extended his championship lead. Diogo Silva is now third, 260 points, and look at that, Andy Booth and Andy Bramall just 5 points behind. Andy Booth having the benefit of winning more races. So, looking forward to the next rounds. Thanks for watching.